The Carpenters were one of the top-selling musical acts of all time, selling over 100 million records. Although there are many musical tributes to other popular artists, including over 35,000 Elvis impersonators today, no one has attempted to recreate on stage and in the recording studio the look, the sound, and the spirit of the Carpenters, one of the greatest duos of all time. Until now.
Talking to myself and feeling old. Sometimes I'd like to quit. Nothing ever seems to fit. Hanging around, nothing to do but frown. Rainy days and Mondays always get me down. There's a kind of all over the world, all over the world, people just like us are falling in love.
By 1976, Karen and Richard Carpenter reached the pinnacle of their careers, including 12 top 10 hits, a release of their 7th studio album, and tours of Japan, the US, Canada, and Germany. One of the key people behind the scenes and on stage was Karen's personal assistant, Michael Lansing.
My name is Michael Lansing, and I worked with the Carpenters in 1976 for 12 months of the most meaningful music experiences I've ever had. Working with Karen and Richard was absolutely life-changing. Richard was absolutely a genius, always knew the right answers, and surrounded himself with the best people. If you were in the studio with the Carpenters, you were somebody that you were on top of your game, otherwise you wouldn't be there. And he expected the best at all times. He wanted everybody's A game every minute of the day. And why not? He was a superstar, and his sister was a superstar. Phenomenal, phenomenal singer with an incredibly big heart.
In November of 1976, the Carpenters capped off a busy year with a tour of the UK, recording a live album from the London Palladium and performing at the New London Theatre in a televised performance for the BBC.
Then the simple letters A and B.
It was, the New London Theatre was amazing. It was so fun. And I don't know exactly how we pulled it all off, but we did one show at 7:00 p.m. We did another show at 9:30. We did another show at midnight. We did 3 shows. The third show was for the London cab drivers, and it was phenomenal. We did not go to a hotel that night. We ripped the show down, went straight to the New London Theatre, put it all together, and at 6:00 in the morning, we were rehearsing the orchestra for the TV show. and he just went straight forward. It was amazing. I don't know how they did it. Don't know. But it's, 4 shows from like 6 p.m. to 7 a.m. 4 shows. Until Carpenters Legacy, I have not heard any vocalist or any arranger put a show together to do Carpenter's music justice. It warms my heart to know that their legacy continues.
We go on hurting each other. We go on hurting each other. Don't you remember you told me you love me, baby? You said you'd be coming back this way again, baby. Baby, 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 oh baby. I love you. I really do.
I was noticing there's a video of the Carpenters performing at the New London Theater. And I was like, oh my God, this is great, because it shows the side of the Carpenters that a lot of people don't get to see unless they went to one of their live concerts with Karen doing her big drum feature and Richard doing his piano wizardry and so forth. So we decided to put a show together based on that, because as far as I know, I don't think there were any other Carpenters tributes out there that actually perform in character. Is that right?
You could be right there, yeah.
Yeah. So we put the show together and spent many months. I spent a long time writing the show, which was extremely challenging because I had to recreate a lot of the music that was never published. The vocal harmonies, what the band would play, the drum parts, sax parts, everything. Richard's classical piano feature, which is based on a Bach invention.
From this moment on.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are all really iconic and essential things that they did in their 1976 show.
Yeah, the 1976 UK tour, I think, is probably the epitome of their career. All the greatest hits had
and it showed the variety and versatility of both of their talents.
Sally comes from a small town near Rutland, Vermont.
So there are some artists in my family. Most of my family's in dentistry, but I think I probably got my entertainer gene from my grandmother. So when she was a kid, she did a lot of singing and dancing and performing, and anybody who knows her knows that she loves to sing, she plays the accordion, she even yodels, and she will teach you how to yodel if you ask. When I was in 2nd grade, and this is one of my favorite memories of my early beginnings as an entertainer, there was a talent show for my K-8 school back in Vermont, Rutland, Vermont. And I decided to sing Never Never Land from the musical Peter Pan. So I was in character as Peter Pan, and my best friend was playing Wendy. And I did the song a cappella, and it made a very big impression on the audience. And one of my friend's mothers, I remember, pulled aside my mom after the show and was asking her, wow, is Sally training professionally? She has perfect pitch. And I actually, at the time, was not training professionally. I was, just in chorus and singing on my own. So that moment was definitely one of those important moments that would propel me to continue pursuing singing.
And that's my home where dreams are born and time is never planned. Just think of lovely things and your heart will fly on wings forever in Never, Neverland.
Well, the visual arts have always been a really big part of my life, and believe it or not, that's what I sought out to do more than the singing and performing when I was a kid. I always wanted to become a famous artist. I was painting and drawing, and for a while I wanted to be a Disney animator. And when I was in college, I studied and majored in studio art at Middlebury College in Vermont. I also majored in French. So I studied in Paris. After college, I spent some time studying at the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Art in Philadelphia. I also studied at the Florence Academy of Fine Art in Florence, Italy. So I've really had a lot of experience and training in visual art. It's still something that I love to do, but these days you can find me singing most of the time. Well, I first decided to do a tribute to Karen and the Carpenters, because it was Karen and Richard, back in 2013. Around that time, I was managing director at a voice studio in Vermont, and so in doing so, I had the opportunity to train professionally, and I also spent some time studying at Circle in the Square Theater School in New York City. And I started thinking about putting together a one-woman show. I had been auditioning for all kinds of things, and some things I would get and others not. But the bottom line was that nothing really spoke to me or got me really excited. But what did get me excited was the idea of putting together my own show. And when this all started, I didn't have a specific focus, but it didn't take too long, reading through music, that I found that the music of the Carpenters was a really good fit for me. Vocally, I have the same vocal range as Karen, so that was a perfect fit. And just emotionally, I relate so much to Karen as a person, and I threw myself into it, and this cabaret show became a tribute to the Carpenters. I've amassed quite an extensive collection of Carpenters memorabilia. I have all of their LPs on vinyl, duplicates of some. I have certain items from their fan club from the 70s. Certain fans have gifted me items from their own collections, such as special keychains. I have signed photographs of Karen and Richard. I also, one of my prized possessions is a pendant necklace that actually belonged to Karen. The contents of our Carpenters and Carpenters Legacy room account for about 8 years' worth of collecting memorabilia, framing projects, and, of course, the costume collection. Between our regular show and our Christmas show, I have quite an extensive costume collection. One of my favorite parts of the show is the costuming and recreating these iconic 70s outfits that both Karen and Richard wore. I also have a recreation of one of Karen Carpenter's drum sets. I found it on eBay in 2016, and it's just like the Silver Sparkle Ludwig drum set Karen had. I had the Karen Carpenter bass drum decal made to complete it. I knew back then that I would want to eventually incorporate a drum feature into the show, just as Karen performed in 1976. So that's when I started taking drum lessons.
Raised in Wathen, North Carolina, a small community of less than 200 people, Ned spent most of his time as a young boy playing piano and trumpet. He also comes from a musical family. His mother Ruby enjoyed singing, and his father Mickey played the piano and enjoyed songwriting.
I started playing the piano when I was 5 years old. My father got me into it, and he would play a little ditty. I'm like, Daddy, I want to play too. So he would teach me something to play along. And so shortly afterward, I wanted to play the trumpet, and Dad got me into that. So in 1994, I took the plunge and started to do my own show. It's called Piano Follies, and featured several different pianos that I designed, and I had dancers, and it was really a fun experience. And that's when I realized I wanted to go more in the direction of being an entertainer rather than being a writer and a conductor. So I moved to Las Vegas almost 22 years ago, and didn't have a job like a lot of people when they first come to Vegas. And I started hustling, working in clubs, and soon I became everybody's music director when they needed a pianist or conductor. I did everything from weddings to corporate events, conventions. I had the honor of working with the late Don Rickles a couple of times, and a show I wrote the music for called Shades of Sinatra. I also worked with Joan Rivers. In fact, I played one of her last shows in Vegas before she tragically passed away.
So the story of how Ned and I met is a pretty interesting one. I was performing my Carpenters tribute show at the Triad Theater in New York City, and a gentleman who attended the show was a big Carpenters fan, and he said he had some ideas and would be in touch, and lo and behold, a few months later, he did get in touch with me, and he said that he had a childhood friend who's a former showgirl, and she lives in Las Vegas, and they've been talking, and they thought that I should absolutely come and visit Las Vegas, audition for Legends in Concert. And so I went to visit Las Vegas for the first time in January of 2018, and I stayed with the former showgirl, whose name is Pamela Sullivan, and she's become a really dear friend. And Pam scheduled me to sit in with several pianists that week, and Ned was the first one. This was at the Tap House jam session, and we hit it off, and he ended up being also the last pianist that I would perform with that week, because he said, no, I'll play for you the rest of the week. And I said, well, that's great. So, and the rest was history.
Exactly.
Music has gone through a variety of different elements as far as presenting it, and the different sounds and the different rhythms and the different way to do it. Nobody does it like the Carpenters. The Carpenters had their own way of doing it, very straight, very disciplined, and it was, you could sit back and you could hear every note, you could feel it, you could absolutely know that they had the love and the appreciation of what they were doing. And therefore, I felt that the way that Ned and Sally delivered the Carpenters was extremely a home run and extremely great and different than other music. They had their own style. They had their own way of hitting a home run, and it was very disciplined, and that was very unusual. And therefore, I was extremely impressed with the way that Sally and Ned hit that home run.
Make it easy on yourself. Make it easy on yourself.
But Sally has a very, very rich vibrato in her alto voice. It's really, it sounds just like Karen. It used to freak me out. The hair on my arm would go because it was so true.
Just like me, they long to be close to you.
Karen's voice is very striking, and it's very iconic. I think one of the things that people would agree with when they hear Karen's voice is that when you hear it on the radio, for instance, you automatically recognize that it's Karen and this is the Carpenters, because she has such a distinct voice quality. And also another really interesting thing about her voice is that there's a certain essence about it where you feel as though she's whispering into your ear. It's a very intimate kind of experience. And that all comes from the technique that she used when she was holding the mic. She held it very close, and she sang actually quite softly. She never pushed her voice. And that's one of the things that makes her voice so special, and also gives it that really velvety quality.
Sally's one of the only singers that I feel like is really paying homage to Karen in not just the imitation, but the tonal quality.
Desperado, why don't you come to your senses? You've been out riding fences for so long now.
She spent a lot of time getting that beautiful low, deep tone that Karen Carpenter was known for. When I see other people do it, they have this brightness and cheeriness that was not Karen's sound. Karen had a big, lush, low, smooth voice, and that's what I think we've lost when I see other people try to translate her style.
I was in the studio with them when they cut the Carpenters Christmas album in '76, and it was a hot summer week or 10 days, and it was hard to wrap my head around how Karen could give the feeling of being in a winter wonderland in the middle of summer on La Brea Avenue with Carpenter's music. Sally knows how to do that. She has been able to get as close or closer than anybody else has. You close your eyes and you're there. And that is a gift. Obviously, she's studied and rehearsed and done multiple videos of every phrase to get it right, because the pausing, there's so much that goes into it, and Ned is amazing to be able to, get the whole thing into a cohesive presentation that works.
Merry Christmas, darling. We're apart, that's true, but I can dream, and in my dreams I'm Christmasing with you.
After successfully touring and selling out shows across the United States, Carpenters Legacy releases their first album.
So I started 30 years ago. I met Bill Kennedy and Garth Richardson, and Bill took me under his wing. It was really great because that's where I got to work at A&M for the first time, and A&M was the studios that spawned the Carpenters. Sally and Ned are fantastic. The biggest part of this whole project is staying true to the original Carpenters sound and art form, which means we're using all the classic tube mics. And in spite of it going to digital, we're getting a really beautiful sound that I think everyone's going to love. Recording the harmonies on this stuff can be challenging, but it's amazing because Ned can go in and in a matter of minutes, with what he's charted out, match the harmonies note for note, stack them, and we move on. And it's actually what seemed like would be a very laborious process is amazingly quick and unbelievably simple.
Close to you.
It's really been a lot of fun working with all these guys, and the musicians are second to none. We have John Plows is our drummer, Jim DeRigo, who plays flute, sax, and clarinet, and we have Mark Spites on the guitar. And these guys are, not only are they great musicians, they're also like family to us.
The Carpenters Legacy was so amazingly musical that I jumped at the chance to play this material. Ned and Sally gave me so many opportunities to bring my own personality into the music, but paying homage to Richard Carpenter's arrangements. It was super fun.
Playing groove live or studio, either one is very important. I mean, a groove is basically, if you get into the textbook definition, is a repeated pattern, whatever style you might be playing. So that's your groove. But the importance of the groove or in the pocket is not just playing the appropriate groove, but how you place it within the musical situation you're in. Because it's one thing to just sit down and play, but again, when you want to be in the pocket, you're listening to the people around you and trying to fit in with everybody. It's not just about what you're doing, it's more about what everybody else is doing, and you're fitting that into the pocket. When that happens, everybody feels that.
As far as the importance of the groove is to make the music feel good. You know, I've gone out with some of the top drummers in Los Angeles, and the drummer did a great feel. And the guy looked at me and said, "When's the last time you heard that on the record?" It should feel good, it should fit, get you moving your foot, everything's, yeah, he's in the groove, yeah, it's happening.
In their debut album, Carpenters Legacy gives one of the Carpenters' greatest hits of fresh new arrangement and sound.
I love the idea that we're doing a Spanish version of some Carpenters tunes. And I think it works really, really well. And I love when I get an opportunity to play nylon string guitar, because that's the sound for that.
The Carpenters Legacy new version of Latin Superstar is really an amazing piece. It's something that I think if Karen was still alive, they would have at some point expanded to the Latin market. And besides the song sounding great, those lyrics in Spanish are quite touching. It's really a remarkable piece of work.
The Carpenters Legacy version of Spanish Superstar will absolutely take them around South America, Central America, and throughout Mexico. It's, again, an updated version of the track with Spanish lyrics, and it's delivered flawlessly.
So the music of the 70s, which we all love in one form or another, is definitely different than the music of today. I feel like at that point in time, there was a huge competition for sound, style. It was a growing thing. And in spite of all the work you had to do with analog tape and the consoles and rooms that weren't necessarily treated properly all the time, they did the most amazing sounding things. And I feel like in the music of today, we've lost the art of challenge, being challenged by the technology. And then using that technology to go even further than what the previous artists sounded like.
The Carpenters will never go away. The music is iconic. The songs have become standards. At one time we may have called that pop standards, but no, they've crossed over to the Great American Songbook level. So they're going to be here forever, and we're going to be hearing people do it long after we're no longer here to appreciate it any longer.
Wow, to reference the influence of the Carpenters' music and their impact on music in general since the 1970s, whenever they were hitting, globally, is, it's a huge thing to talk about. Just this week, I was listening to an interview, and they were talking about Karen Carpenter's voice, that contralto voice, and how haunting it was, and Richard's arrangements, which were so deeply steeped in classical repertoire. It's almost incomprehensible that any Western music did not have that influence imparted on it based on the preponderance of their hits.
And I wish that our current generations, our younger people, could grasp that feeling, because today's music doesn't have that any longer. We need to look back to those good times, and the Carpenters gave that to us all.
There was something so pure about Carpenter's music. And when you went to a Carpenters show, it was like hearing the album being played back note for note. And that was partially due to the genius of Richard Carpenter and his genius superstar sister. The magic just worked. The impact of Carpenter's music still on us, the general populace today, is amazing. I talk about it a lot because it was meaningful to me. And it is a joy to hear the reaction that I get from the public about how much they want to tell me how it's affected them and how they used a song in a wedding or in a baptism or at a family, a sharing of a celebration of life, or, you know, there's the words, the music, the melody, it is so special. Nothing is like it. There is nothing like Carpenter's music.
Richard Carpenter was one of those unheralded heroes of the music scene. Everybody focused on what Karen had to offer, but when Richard was at the piano, you just knew that he was there carrying the show for everybody. His persona, his piano skills, everything about him was just so complete. And for Ned to step into those shoes and be able to carry that off is something that you wouldn't expect. It felt really, really good, and it just made the whole package so complete. Sally's take on Karen Carpenter is one of those things that you can only hope to experience in your lifetime. It's uncanny when someone means that much to you as an artist, and to know that they've gone from this earth, and to see them reborn in that way. Sally totally encaptures everything that Karen was about. She's got the mannerisms, the soul, the look in her eyes, the vocal qualities, all those things that you remember from your childhood or from whatever point you were in your life. And you just look at her and you're mesmerized. It makes you feel like she's still with us.
Suena la radio e mi hace recordar cuánto te extraño. Ya lo sé que tengo olvidar. No más la tenderá. Como le digo que no va a volver a verte, si no hago más que más de verte, oh baby, 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 oh baby, I love you, I really do. Llega sin preguntar si es para mal o bien. Nuestro amor no ha sido la solución. Quizás pasó la piel en otra oído. Como le digo que no va a volver a verte, si no hago más que más de verte, oh baby, 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 oh baby, I love you, I really do. Don't you said you'd be coming back this way again, baby. Baby, 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 oh baby, I love you, I really do. We've only just begun to live. White lace and promises, a kiss for luck and we're on our way. We've only begun. Before the rising sun, we fly. So many roads to choose. We start off walking and learn to run. And yes, we've just begun. Sharing horizons that are new to us. Watching the signs along the way.